Hello everybody and welcome to another very special episode of Carlton People. On today's episode I've got Mr. Brandon here from Melbourne Coffee Roasting Co. You guys will recognise him from his brewing company. So let's start with you, mate. What's going on?
It's all happening at the moment. Been busy just building up the business and keeping the head in the footy world, really. Watching the Blue Boys string a few good performances together, and it was really good to see them have a big win on the weekend, which was great, and looking forward to Sunday.
Absolutely, mate. Well, you've got me here in your roastery here. Talk to me a little bit about. Well, let's start with your Carlton story before we get into your coffee story.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about where does it begin for you? Where does the Carlton world enter your world?
So for me, I guess the story starts a little bit before I sort of was born. So mum and dad came over from Italy back in '69, and mum's side particularly moved into Lygon Street, and
wow.
So they were already getting marinated with the new culture and the new sport, and obviously Princess Park is just sort of down the road. And then I guess my uncle, being the male of the family, started to get into footy at school, and then and then basically when I sort of came around, he got into my ear, and then I had another uncle that got into my ear, and they took me to a few games, which was really cool. And I guess once '95 came along and saw the beautiful grand final win there against Geelong, never looked back really, just sort of bought into it from that day, and basically just been following them ever since, really.
So you got to see some of the glory years before we enter, the shit age that I've had to grow up in.
Pretty much, yeah. Got to see. Well, I didn't. I saw the '93 grand final as well, which cemented in my heart forever to hate Essendon.
Yep.
Which is,
that's where that starts there.
Yeah, that's for me. That's the the starting point. So I'll never forgive Michael Long, bouncing around past 7 guys and kicking it past Sauce's hands, which I'm sure that Sauce did touch it on the line.
Where was the ARC? Where was the ARC?
It was
back then.
Exactly. But no, we still trust Sauce that he's an honest guy, right? So just believe that he's an honest guy. So yeah, that's basically it. And then obviously '99 came around and we won by a point. So I was just like, it was great to get over the arch enemy, and saw in the early 2000 season and 2001 were obviously really strong years for us.
Yeah.
And then 2002 came, which was disaster central. So that's I guess the start of the disappointing years, and obviously we had the mid 2000s there, and
what's your first memory of watching a game or going to a game? Where does the memory start?
I think that sort of goes back to having the family getting me involved in it. My uncle took me to a couple of games when I was a kid.
Yep.
So this would have been back in '91.
Yep.
And I remember my first game was against North, but I specifically remember Carlton played St Kilda. I think it was that season or the season after, and I was like, oh crap, Uncle, we're playing against Tony Lockett. He's going to smash us today. But little did I know there was a number 1 playing for Carlton, Sauce. And Sauce, I think it kept him either to a clean sheet or, conceded maybe 1 or 2 goals. But for me to say, Blues, really bought into it from that point on. And I think later on we ended up watching Brisbane Bears play against Carlton, and Carlton just destroyed them. And I'm like, this is the team. That's cemented it for me when I was a kid. I was about 12 years old or something, yeah.
Who was your first hit? Was it Sauce? Was that your first sort of hero? Which players did you gravitate towards as a kid?
I think, probably a bit of a Sticks fan when I was growing up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I hear about him from people who watched him play. I hear about how he doesn't get the credit as the years go on, and how great he was. And, I did another episode with a good friend of mine, Lorenzo, and he was saying, comes to the club in '86, they lose the granny.
Yeah,
a year later, he becomes captain at 21 years old, and then you think about now. When you look at, I think Melbourne, they put Jack Trengove as captain at 21, disaster, and you just think of a key position guy, centre half forward, 21 years old. You got greats of the club who were there, Wayne Johnson, the Dominator. You've got all these big names, and you've got this 21-year-old kid who's now captain of the club, and so he must have been something special.
He just had for me, I think he had like the physical presence.
Yep.
There's a bit of I reckon there's a bit of slight cult figure with the mullet sort of thing happening as well.
Okay.
So, leadership, goal scorer. He's probably maybe the clean version of Fev in some ways.
Yep.
Maybe in terms of character, but just the presence. Like, you watch some of the games back in the 90s and stuff, when I was sort of beginning to watch, laces out, and then he had the famous helicopter punts through the goals.
Yeah.
Just a sort of side thing too, which is all sort of part of it. And like Craig Bradley, what a servant of the club, playing over 370 something games, and just ran all day. So I got to watch all those guys, and
what an honour.
And then Kuda came later on.
Yeah, he was my first memory of a hero. As a kid, you gravitate towards the footy players as your heroes, just because that's what you're watching. They do things that get you excited. Kuda was a big one for me. And then it wasn't until I was old enough to realise that, like, he went to the same high school that I went to.
Oh, really?
So we're actually not far away. We're around the corner from old Laylaw Secondary College.
Oh.
So, he was a great. So we moved to 2020. We moved to, we've had a couple of rebuilds. I think this is our second rebuild for this era. I think the Murphy, Gibbs, Cruiser, draft pick, saga, if you want to call it, was a rebuild. I think then we had to do it again with the Wiedering.
It's almost like we half baked a cake.
I think so.
We half baked the base of it, and then we chucked on Judd, which was the icing, and we thought, okay, maybe that would be enough to get us through. But
now we started.
There wasn't enough there, so we had to strip it all back. And
100%. So when you watch this group, and obviously at the time of recording this video, we're 3-3, and we're looking okay. We're looking like we're improving for the first time with this group, given that there is something to play for. The season's not dead. So, what are you thinking, watching, observing as a fan in 2020?
Look, I think in the 2020 season, you look at the brand that Teague has brought. I think you can definitely see from that the players have really bought into the culture, and it was really good to see that Tommy Williamson, that shot there when I can't remember who kicked the goal, and
Eddie.
he was giving Eddie, and he's given the fist pump, and the commentary was I think it was Nick Rewalt was saying, that's a guy who's really bought into the culture, and you can really see that with this group, and we're gonna grow. Like we've I hate using the phrase the green shoots, but they're starting to come up bit by bit, and I think also as well, like with Brendan Bolton, that guy really put his career on the line. It's a sacrifice what he's really given us, and I think in years to come we're really going to benefit a lot from that.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because I can't help but feel like he was able to cultivate a different environment for these boys, because our strategy at the time was just hit the draft, no experience, hit the draft. You lose Gibbs and Doherty. Obviously Doherty gets injured in end of 2017, so you lose him, you lose Gibbs, you get 2 draft picks, and you play these kids. And so Bolton wore the brunt. Now, was he a good tactical coach? Maybe not. There's arguments for that as well. Some of the things he didn't work, but at the end of the day, he used to say about how these moments will pay us back, and can't help but feel like all of a sudden Petrescu's sitting, he closes in on 100 games. Fisher will get there as well, and some of these boys like Wiedering, he's going to start closing in on that 100
You
game.
can see that Wiedering has really started to spike a little bit more this year, and I think even with having Doherty back there, the defence looks a lot more settled.
For sure. But I think there is something to be said for what environment was there for these young boys who were getting beaten every week, and for him to just keep cultivating that. I guess he set the foundational principles. Maybe not so much as a tactical coach, but I think as a person and as a teacher. Yes, right. Spot on. So I think there's something to be said there. So in this group, you've seen the greats. Who in this group are you looking at and you think, oh wow, I think he's got the real potential to really be one of the greats one day?
Look, I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's a big key position forward, but I just love Harry Mackay.
Yeah.
I just love he's just got so much of a dynamic part of his game, can run up the ground, take a big mark, become the link man. If the ball hits the deck, he can pick it up like we saw against the Bulldogs and snap it over his shoulder, 35-metre kick, or even that crazy goal against St Kilda. Picks up the ball, turns 50 over that side 50. That's Buddy Franklin sort of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously it's a little bit of a throwback having Eddie down there too. Like my mum, shout out to Maria.
Shout out to Mum.
Loves Eddie Betts. Can't watch a footy with Mum because of Eddie Betts on TV. She goes berserk. So no, it's just you can see the impact that Eddie's had. I know that some of the Carlton supporters had a bit of a, we've gone past it. Do we really need this sort of thing? But oh man, the element, the pressure, the
magic.
skill, the magic, it's all that. Like you can't, for a 4th round draft pick, you do that every day of the week, right?
Yeah, and for Adelaide to still be paying some of his salary. And I think the other thing as well, not that it goes unnoticed, but Jack Martin made it very clear that Eddie Betts was a key figure and a key reason why he came to Carlton.
Yeah.
So Eddie allows the Indigenous boys in the team to really have that. He's that figure for them. He's that.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if uncle's the right term, but he's that, when you have an uncle that's not blood related, but he's your uncle. I can't help but feel like Eddie's that uncle, not father figure, uncle figure for them. So, what he's able to do for Jack Martin to let him just ease his way into the club, and he's obviously in a new environment, Petrovsky, Seaton, young guys who are coming through. So, I can't help but agree with you there. Let's touch on Melbourne Coffee Roasting Co, because obviously you've come on board as a sponsor, and we thank you for that. So for those of you would have seen the packaging here. Talk to me about just quickly how this all started and what you've got going on.
This particular blend that you put on the screen here, my dad Aldo created this one. He's like a bit of a mad scientist. I remember the first time that he made this particular blend for me, and the crema on it was like massive, was huge. And I just remember him was so excited about what he made. So I guess with the business, my father's a combustion engineer by trade.
Yep.
And I remember one night, I think he had some dealings with some other coffee roasters in the game as well. And he came home one night, we're having dinner, and he's like, "Oh, you know what we should do? We should start a coffee roasting business." And I remember my reaction to what he was saying was like, "What do you mean? Like instant? Like what are you talking about?" I knew nothing about coffee, right? And I guess from then it's just sort of been this gradual sort of love that's sort of grown for me. Dad, pretty much after that conversation, went out and bought a little, I think it was like a 3 or 4 kilo roaster.
Yep.
And we started roasting it up in Normals garage.
Yep.
My brother ended up becoming a barista.
Real entrepreneurial spirit there.
And then we started doing a lot of markets in Greensborough. And they just sort of built it up. And over the years, we won some awards, won silver and bronze at the Sydney Fine Food Show. And this particular blend has won a couple of bronze as well. And we'll call them Ambrosia Coffee Roasters back in the day. And then as of 2019, I changed the name, make it more metropolitan.
Yeah.
And then, the blends like, Fed Square, Melbourne Cup, Crown, that will resonate with like the Melbourne coffee scene. So
are we going to get a Carlton blend?
There may be one.
A navy blue Carlton blend.
I've already thought about that, so I won't disclose what that is now. We'll keep that on the wraps.
Keep it under wraps. All right.
But there will be something that resembles Carlton, the suburb, and what that sort of means to Melbourne coffee culture.
Yeah, and I guess for you guys in your story, in your life as well as a family. So. Now you've got a little promo for us as well.
Yes.
The Blue Abroad community, the Carlton community. Talk to me about what can we get, where do we go, what do we do?
So if you go on to www.melbournecoffeeroastingco.com and use promo code Carlton15, you'll get a 15% discount on all the products there, and you can use the code twice.
Ooh.
So that's
2 separate orders?
Yeah, 2 separate orders. So you buy one week, and then a week later, or whatever you decide to buy, another lot later on. And there's also, you'll see on the site, we're running something else for winter as well. Buy 3 kilos and get one for free. So there's plenty on there for different people depending on what your needs are, and we're going to be launching some tea very soon as well, which will be great.
Well, mate, I appreciate you jumping on board and
thanks for having us.
Being one of our first sponsors of the channel. It's a cool little milestone for us, and I think obviously for you, you've been with us commenting and just being part of the audience since the beginning, when there was no video, when there was just podcast and just audio, back when I was in Israel.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I appreciate that, and I wish you all the best, and hopefully we can, this could be the beginning of a great relationship,
that's
mate.
It. Get on board. Thank you very much for that, Terry.
No worries, mate.
It was awesome being on the show.
Go the Mighty Blues.
Go the Mighty. Social distance.
Cheers, mate.